Hello, I'm Sheridan Morris from Wilson Associates, Right Words, Perfect Timing. And Nikki asked me to present what I know about humour, comedy and laughter, improving your physical, emotional and financial well-being. Okay, just my background. I'm a writer, a published author, and I've been in business for over 23 years. I've seen lots of changes in the industry. I came to looking at humour, comedy and laughter because I was mentoring some young women at the time, and I was always saying to them, go outside your comfort zone, stretch the envelope. And I was already presenting and speaking publicly, and so I realised that the way for me to go outside my comfort zone was to do comedy. And I joined the Humourversity. I'm actually a graduate of Melbourne's Humourversity and did some fabulous training with Pete Crofts. And he has the most amazing collection of humour, comedy and laughter books and memorabilia and ephemera, and he's been collecting it for over 50 years. So I did classes there, and in a moment of just sheer madness, registered for the International Comedy Festival in Melbourne and did a one-woman show called Love, Lust and Chocolate, which got some pretty good reviews. And then I went on to do 3 more shows with teams where we authored and also performed. What have I learned about humour and comedy and laughter is that it can enhance your life in a way that you would be quite surprised about, actually. I went into it thinking, oh yes, well, I'll know how to use the formulas and structures. I'll be able to use it in my writing that I do for my clients. And I do love to add my clients' sense of humour into any documents or online publications that I do for them. But I found that it gave me access to a very, very strong emotional support. Now, I'm I think it's 1 in 5 Australian women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And mine was an early diagnosis, but I still had to have an operation and then go through radiotherapy. Now, that's pretty devastating news, and I knew that I needed to stay positive as I was going through treatment. And so part of that was to look at how I could create times to laugh. Funny movies, being with friends and sharing with them. I had one friend who said, I'll send you a funny email every day. And I checked that out, and it was there every day. And it was really helpful. Just helped me smile a little bit, feel a little bit better. And then I linked up with some people, and we were traveling together to the hospital that we were going to for treatment. And we made a pact that we would get in the car and we'd either have a funny story or a funny joke to tell each other. And it was an agreement that we wouldn't talk about, the bad things and the terrible things about facing cancer. And we were all having treatment for various forms, but we decided that we would actually encourage each other to laugh. Then when I had to go to radiotherapy, I looked at this great big machine, and they put you with your arm up and then your legs slightly bent, and when they're doing the radiotherapy. And I thought, well, gosh, that's just like the cheesecake pose of the 40s and 50s. Of course, all the nurses were very young, and they said, what's the cheesecake pose? So I came home and I downloaded pictures of Marilyn Monroe and Rita Hayworth and took them to the nurses, and they put them up in their office area, which was great. But I also knew I had to create a relationship with this machine that was going to zap me every day. So I created that it was radiating unconditional love. Now, that was a way for me to go in with a very positive vibe and come out feeling great rather than feeling very zapped and tired. And I found that as I practiced using humour and comedy and laughter, that it just lifted my spirits. And I think this is where physically it can help us all. When you're having times when it's tough, and let's face it, in business there are tough times, when you're looking at times when there's sadness in your family or sadness in your own life, and you're moving through that time, find ways to just find something to chuckle about, to enjoy, and lift your spirits just that little bit. Because by lifting your spirits, you can actually sometimes see a clearer view and find solutions where perhaps before you couldn't see it. It can also help you, pick up and move through a difficult time so that you feel so much better. And once you've moved through it, then you can congratulate yourself and feel really great. I know that in certain professions, there are different types of humour. And, if you've got a team and they can work on having a way of laughing together, having a brand of humour that's appropriate for the work that you do, then it can be something that really makes a difference to people turning up in the morning and going to work and feeling whether they are, enjoying the whole experience or not. Now, one situation that I've got, and I love it because my life has loads of stories that I can use as material whenever I want to talk about humour and comedy and laughter. I worked for a time in a government department, and it was very formal, and everybody was working in little cubicles and tended to sort of keep their heads down and work. And it was a great team. They had lots and lots of events. They had times when the different departments had to host times when they would have food together or they'd celebrate something. But there was one man who would stand up above the actual top of where all their little compact sections were, compartments, and he would tell a joke or he would recite something really funny. Now, everybody had the same reaction. As soon as he stood up, they'd all go, "Oh," but you know what? Every one of them listened to him. And, it got varying degrees of laughter and things like that. But it was always something that really freshened up the day. The funny thing is, he got promoted, and everyone was aghast. How come he got promoted? And I thought, well, perhaps he knew the very secret to life, and that's being embarrassed and enjoying it. He wasn't embarrassed to stand up and to actually share with the people around him his sense of humour, to brighten up their day and to just add a bit of brightness and lightness to the day. So that's how humour, comedy and laughter can help you in business and in your career as well. Because if you're seen to have a sense of humour, people love dealing with you. And let's face it, in business, people buy from people. They love your products, they love your service, but if they really enjoy being with you, that makes a complete difference to them being completely satisfied and becoming raving fans for your business. So I encourage each and every one of you to start to develop and get to know your own sense of humour. One of the things that our coach encouraged us to do was to go on what he called a humour walk. Now, he gave us these little notebooks and he called them our checkbooks because we could learn from and earn from the information that we put into these little books. He said, go for a walk, have a look around, and just notice things that are a little bit funny, a little bit different, a little bit strange. Now, I use this process all the time, and once you've jotted it down in the book, then you can create a piece around it, a little story. And of course, you can use a whole lot of techniques like exaggeration and voice inflections and pausing and timing and all that sort of thing to make the story even better. I'm sure all of you know somebody in your life who can tell a darn good yarn, and it's because they know how to make it stretch out, build it up to a crescendo, and then tell you the final thing. So, for instance, I had a time when I went to Corio, and I saw the signs there. The parking signs were 2p and 1/4p zones. So I figured that most of the inhabitants of Corio are middle-aged people, because 2p for the middle-aged women who have to pee twice as often as the fellas, and the quarter p zones for the poor old guys with prostate problems. Now that gives you an insight into the kind of humour that I like to use, and it's the kind of humour that I've used quite often in presentations and on the stage. May not be appropriate for work, but it's just came from observing some signs and going, how could I make something more of that? So my encouragement to you is to get to know your sense of humour. Notice the things that you enjoy laughing at and make you chuckle. And don't be afraid to share it. I know sometimes we're a little bit shy because we think, oh, people won't understand, but do try and do that. Now, I see the time is going past, and Nikki said only 15 minutes. And I can tell you, I could go on forever because I love this topic so much. But the other side of humour, comedy and laughter is, of course, almost like a spiritual journey that you can have with it. We all take ourselves terribly serious as human beings. When you look down at ants and see how tiny they are and how insignificant they are in relation to everything else in the world, you kind of get like what we look like if you span out and have a look at the earth. We're so tiny and insignificant, but we walk around, being serious about everything. Oh dear, and we're very serious about our seriousness. Well, my coach, Pete Croft, would always say, if you're serious about seriousness, then you're insane. So my encouragement to you is to use comedy and humour and laughter to become lighter and brighter about life. It's all a big cosmic joke. We're all going to end up in the same spot in the end of it. And it's all about enjoying the journey along the way. So what are my points that I want to make? Don't be afraid to develop your own sense of humour. Don't be afraid to add it into the way that you do business, in your communications, in your blogs, on your website. That's you. That's your personality. That'll shine through. And look at it to really build you up physically and see it as a spiritual aspect to you as a human being. Now, if you'd like me to come and talk to your team about humour, comedy and laughter, I'd be happy to do it. If you'd like me to do a presentation, sometimes even a webinar about it, about how you can actually physically add it into your communications, I'm more than happy to do that because I really want to spread the news about it. And I'm part of a very special board called the Australian Institute of Comedy. And we're looking for a home for the collection for Pete that Pete has put together over the last 50 years. It's part of who we are as Australians. It's what has helped us survive all of the challenges that we have in our country as migrants coming to this country, our way of actually integrating with each other. And so we've got this collection to honour the Aussie sense of humour. If you need to know any more, please send me an email, sheridan@wellsaid.com.au. You can check out my website, www.wellsaid.com.au. And yes, if you'd like to have a chat, you can give me a call on 0419 547 810. And keep laughing. Keep finding things to laugh about. It will enhance your life and in a way that will surprise you. So here I am again, Sheridan Morris, Well Said & Associates, right words, perfect timing.